Who's wrong and who's wronger? In this corner, followed by millions, James the Exploding Unicorn Breakwell. And in that corner, ignored by millions, Steve Dash Rinko Levens.
Hey everybody, this is the Steve Olivas coming to you. I got a little song based upon the headswear that I got today. Here we go, are you ready? A one and a two and when Amazon comes from the sky, it's a big pumpkin pie, it's from Breakwell. When it don't quite fit yet, here I got to sit with the Breakwell. Because of the wronger and the wronger, and you are here, you are live, and James, I'll tell you what, you have outdone yourself with this thing, and it's all based upon a verbal faux pas that you committed a couple of weeks ago. And do you want to tell the story quick?
Yes, I mistakenly, instead of calling you a psychologist, called you a pieologist, which quite frankly seems closer to your area of expertise. And then I saw that hat, which was extremely cheap and was, in the price range I was willing to pay for you. So I sent it over there, and now I completely regret it. I should not enable you in any circumstances ever.
James, I serenaded this morning. I mean, you must be touched.
Not in a good way. There's lots of bad touch. That was one of them.
Well, we've got the dollop of whipped cream. It's fantastic. I got all kinds of good props going on over here. You seem to have pulled in like an intimidator on your side. Are you trying to bully me into losing this week because I've been on a bit of a roll? What do you got going on behind you?
Well, there is, as long as I keep in the shot here, my friend the bear is back there. He's temporarily being housed there until he can be relocated to my brother's house. So in the meantime, I get to enjoy his well-dressed company. But you haven't read the newsletter yet, so you don't know the full story there. But needless to say, it was a hard-won bear, and he will not be easily parted with.
The one part of the story I did do was click on the YouTube video and immediately thought, uh-oh. But then I did back up a paragraph, and you explained that your life is a complicated one of a tangled web of lies, James.
Obviously.
Just with... trying to remember whose name is what. I can't imagine. It's like you're having an affair on all your listeners. There's a lot of stress there, I'll bet.
I'm just trying to keep people from getting murdered. Some days are better than others. I mean, look behind me. That guy died, and it's, we can't, we don't all make it out of these stories alive.
Well, I noticed you don't take a lot of precaution of masking my real name. You put it out there. I noticed you've put like my whereabouts out there, my home address, phone number, where I am usually. So are you trying to get me murdered, James?
You put your own real name out there, as well as multiple pictures of the outside of your house. You're the psychologist here. I mean, you tell me what it means when you've got a death wish like that.
I think you know exactly what it means. I got to get out of this podcast one way or the other. But this is the podcast where we argue about things that don't matter, which really doesn't matter because nobody watches or listens anyway. But what do we have on cue for today? What topic are we arguing?
So we have a fun one today. Which are better, king size or queen size beds?
This would mark the third week in a row that you and I have waved the white flag and our wives have bailed us out by coming up with a topic.
We're just not that creative. I think we've got to accept that at this point.
Well, good Lord, how many? We're over 120 of these shows in, I think. All creativity has got some finite limit to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we were out of good ideas around episode number 8, yet here we are, still going for some reason.
Yeah. Well, all right. Anyway, okay, so king size versus queen size, and I did just want to, you sort of buried the lead a little bit when you veered people off of the topic I just threw out there, which is, I know people are interested in the aggregate of wrong and wrong, or who wins and who loses, and there was sort of a watershed moment that was met last week. Do you remember what it is, James?
I do. I recall getting the email, and it said that I am still in the overall lead by, I have 10,000 votes, and I'm still up by like 300 total. So, I mean, all things are good things. I'm still in the lead. Life is as it should be.
James, I don't know. See, this is why we have like a decathlon in the Olympics. Like, it doesn't matter if one guy, the women run the pentathlon, of course, but if one of the guys is better at discus than the other, but the other guy runs faster, like, it all balances out. All they look for is the big picture. And in the big picture right now, you and I are tied. 16 wins apiece since we've been keeping track of this data. That's a big deal.
Well, yeah,
because...
It's like a...
What do you have to say to that?
It's like in soccer. It's like, okay, everybody's all tied up, and then you go and you see who's had the most goals. We might be all tied up, but I got 300 more votes than you overall. What's that say, Steve? That's a tiebreaker. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry at all. I'm really not even remotely sorry.
Wow, James, I was going to say, if you're sorry for that, your life must be filled with despair. Although I imagine it is. All right. So that's out of the way. We've got to compliment each other. I don't know how this is going to work because we've had to do this over 100 times. And again, our creativity has a governor on it. But let's just see how you do this week, James.
I would like to compliment you on your hat. Whoever picked that out for you had wonderful, wonderful, just impeccable taste. And they're clearly an upstanding human being. So props to you for deferring to their good judgment.
I'm sorry, who's an upstanding human being?
Whoever bought you that hat sounds like just a wonderful person.
Oh, I thought mistakenly for a moment that somewhere in your compliment you actually complimented me.
No.
Wow. It's just looking for one little nugget in a sea of rock. That's all I'm looking for. But all right, so your compliment has to do with your hat, and my compliment to you has to do with your hat, because I will say, and I portended last week, this is freaking awesome, man. I don't know. Did you search for pie hat? Like, how did this land in your lap?
I believe my exact search was stupid men's hats, and that one was very high on the list.
Well, when that yielded no fruit, then you went down to pie hats, right?
Obviously.
Yeah, so Mrs. Steve got the mail and opened it because she takes liberties with my mail that way, because most of the time I don't care anyway. But she was looking at it and said, "This just came for you," and it really didn't have a card in it, which was very confusing to us because it was a piece of pie. And I said, "I think Breakwell's wife was asking about my birthday. She must have sent it." And then you disabused me of that notion by saying, obviously, you stepped right in front of your wife when it came to taking credit for this hat. But it was great. And we had to puff it out a little bit because when it arrived in the package, it was all like squashed and folded. Oh. So this is the end result, and it's a piece of pumpkin pie. Fantastic.
I would actually propose that in the future you put a real piece of pie on your head, really smash it on there. It might get us some viewers. Steve gets you...
One of the penalty videos was my son smashing a cake in my face. I don't know if you remember that
one of my favorites because it had very little of you dancing in it. I mean, the less you move, the better for everybody.
Well, following that chain, when I was eating the macaroni and cheese, that one didn't have any dancing in it, and yet you were, like, beside yourself. You were outraged by that one.
That one had some noises that still haunt my dreams. Let's not revisit that.
Well, I encourage everyone to YouTube some of our penalty videos, that one notwithstanding, but they were all great. I can't think of a stinker in the whole bunch. But speaking of stinkers, let's just continue with the show. I'm going to flip the quarter of fate here, the Guam quarter of fate, that has been with us since day one, and it will determine which side which of us get. So, king size, queen size, what shall the sides represent for you?
Heads, I'm arguing king. Tails, I'm arguing queen.
All right, heads is king, tails is queen. That'll get all the women's livers up in arms. And it is heads. You, sir, have king.
Well, this is going to be the easiest argument I've ever won, because you know what? Bigger is better. This is America. Why do you want a bed that's smaller than the maximum size? You get it big, you have 2 people in there, you have 3 people, you have 5 people, doesn't matter, you can spread them out. We used to have a queen-size bed, and our lives were miserable. We had all the kids pile up in there, we couldn't all fit, Dad had to stand off to the side. It was brutal if you wanted to get in there and watch cake videos, these YouTube videos of people making cakes, or satisfying videos at night to get the kids calmed down. We don't do bedtime stories so much anymore. We do satisfying videos. But I had to stand. I couldn't fit there. Now we have a king-size bed, and everyone can fit on there to watch videos. Family harmony is restored because I believe in family. Also, it's nice at night that you don't have to be right up next to the other person when there's only two of you in the bed. Otherwise, you come off, all sweaty and gunky or whatever. This way, it's like you each have a separate bed. You can be apart if you want or together. You have options. That's called freedom, and that's what America's all about. And why do you hate freedom, Steve? Why?
Why are you gunky? Is my question to you, James, that you spread your your mung all over everyone else. And by the way, Mrs. Steve and I watch satisfying videos too. Very few of them have anything to do with cake.
Oh my gosh.
The main advantage of a queen-size bed, your words, not mine. That's all I'm doing. I'm just like the Burger King drive-thru. I'm just reflecting back your order. That's all I'm doing. Is that not everybody has a mansion like you've got, James. That Victorian mansion of yours that you have to walk elegantly up and down the steps as you present yourself to the room when you're coming out party every morning. That some of us have smaller rooms. By us, I mean not me necessarily, but other people. And the bed has to fit into the living room. There is nothing sadder. And I used to do in-home therapy a million years ago when I was working on my master's degree. And I would go into people's tiny houses and they would have this huge overstuffed gaudy furniture in it, like a sofa and a love seat. And it was like, you got to turn sideways to get through the living room. I don't want to have to do that in the bedroom. I want a little bit of, I want to just be able to breeze right through. People like dressers, they like a mirror, they like maybe a chair to sit in. None of that is possible with these big beds that people want to shove in there. Plus, the person you're in bed with is presumably the person that you enjoy above all other persons, except for us. We enjoy each other more than just about anybody else, obviously. And don't you want to be tucked in close to that person? Like Mrs. Steve and I, this might get a little intimate, but we sleep like back to back. We like to kind of press backs against each other. That's a warm, intimate place to be. Not possible if your side of the bed is in another zip code. Like have the bed fit the room. When we first got together, this was obviously before big houses were a thing. We had apartments, we had a small house, and we had to have a bed that fit the room, man. What do you have against people and affordable housing, James?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to bring your attention to earlier you said that you keep your bed in the living room, which is a little bit concerning, but I guess when your house is as big as yours are, the bedroom is...
Who said
you
that?
said that. It's on tape. It's probably... Your bedroom is probably like another living room, but that's really how they build houses now anyway. Anymore, the master bedroom is like an entire wing of the house. I mean, if you put anything in there smaller than a king-size bed, that bed is just going to be swallowed up by the expanse. You're not going to be able to find it in there. There's so much room. And even if you don't have room, you got to prioritize what you're doing in the room. I mean, in the bedroom, 99% of the time, if you're in that room, you're just laying down in the bed doing something or another. And if you're standing up, you're probably getting dressed or getting undressed. You can either get into or out of bed. The bed is the main event and deserves the most space because that's where you're going to be. As any skeevy mattress salesman will tell you, you spend a third of your life on that mattress. So why not make it as big as possible? I mean, nobody has a house that's too small to hold a king-size bed. The walls might be a little close, but the overall square footage, even if you have a 900 square foot house, I mean, how many square feet is a bed? I mean, it's like 6 by 8 or something like that, maybe a little bit. It's smaller than that even. It's smaller than a prison cell. I mean, you can fit it in there and give yourself a little bit of walking space on either side. You just got to prioritize what's important, and what's important is the space. Let me tell you something about how Lola sleeps. She likes her space. And if I get within, a foot or two of her, there's going to be an elbow out to send me away. I'm lucky she doesn't bring a taser to bed. Okay, there you got to have a little bit of space. We all need our personal areas. So I would not still be married if we had just a queen size bed. I need that king size bed. If I wasn't still married, I wouldn't be the fine person I am today with this large family and this bear behind my shoulder. Everything would fall apart. You're talking about destroying the very fabric of my life, Steve. Please leave us alone. Let us keep our king size bed.
Lola doesn't want you near her. You ever think, James, maybe it's you?
You know what? Entirely possible. That is a plausible theory. Nonetheless, that still means I need a king-size bed.
Touché. Roll the dice, good sir. Let us create an outro and let these fine nobody that's listening go on with their lives today.
All right. Well, the nobody is going to be very excited here in a moment. If you would like to vote for me and king-size beds and democracy, vote for 91. If you would like to vote for tiny queen-size beds and Steve and sadness, vote for 94. And if you'd like to throw away your vote, vote for 15.
All right. So if you want to vote for Steve and affordable housing for all, you've got to vote 94. If you want to vote for James, a guy who's like politicians on both sides of the aisle, that just throws facts out there as if they're real, like a king-size bed would fit in a prison cell. Like, just because you say it doesn't make it the truth. But whatever. Vote for 91 if you want to throw away your vote. Vote for 15 if you want to throw away your vote. But if you want the little guy to succeed, get housing prices down to where everyone can afford to put a queen-size bed in the bedroom and a chicken in every pot. Vote for 94. All right. This has been Wrong and Wronger. You've survived another episode, and I'm not talking to you, James. So, until next week, this is Steve Olivas, Dr. Steve, talking for James the Exploding Unicorn Breakwell, saying thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and remember, even though it's not as cool as a stuffed giant tuxedo-wearing bear, two wrongs can make a right.